Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. Breaking news, PCE. Is the market about to crash? We're about to find out. Here we go.
On this important Friday with some key breaking news. Personal income and spending for December, including some of the Fed's favorite metrics. First look at fourth quarter GDP, and the numbers should be populating. We're going into this with yields moving lower. And on the GDP side, a big disappointment. We're looking for a number around the 2.8 area, comes in at 1.4. 1.4. 1.4 would be the lowest GDP since the first quarter of 25 when it was negative, slightly negative, around 0.5%. Now, if we look at consumption, comes in as expected, 2.4, but that's about a full percent less than the sequential look at the final read last quarter. 2.4 would be the lowest since also the first quarter of 25 when it was 0.6. If we look at the pricing index, not good news here. 3.6, we were looking for 2.8. 3.6 is 0.2 lower sequentially, but much higher than expectations. 3.6 would equal where we were in the first quarter. We got down to 2.1 in the second quarter of 25. Of course, last quarter is higher at 3.8. Finally, if we look at the PCE core pricing index, 2.7, one tick hotter than expected, 2 ticks cooler than the rear view mirror, which was 2.9. Personal income up 0.3, exactly as expected. And last look, it's upgraded to 0.4. On the spending side, looking pretty sharp here, up 0.4. And last look, downgraded from 0.5% to also up 0.4. That 0.4, by the way, is 1/10 better than expectations. Now, if we look at real spending, accounting for inflation, it was up 1/10 as expected, but that's 0.2 light to history. It equals September. To find a lower number, you're going back to May of last year when it was slightly negative. Now, let's get into the meat on the bone. PCE pricing index month over month is 0.4%, 1/10 hotter than we were looking for, and it's double the rear view mirror at 0.2. 0.4, well, that would equal February of 25. To find a higher number, you're going all the way back to January of 24 when it was up 0.5%. Now let's look at the longer look year over year. Comes in at 3% on year over year PCE, and year over year PCE is 2.9. Excuse me, 2.9. If we look at month over month core, up 0.4, like I talked about, and year over year up 3%. And 3% would be the highest level going back to April of last year. So if we look at these numbers and take them all in stride, I think the market did a good job of divining. And I would have to say that many, including Steve Leisman, thought this number would be hotter than expected on the PCE front. And indeed it is. But if we look towards history, we have made a little bit of progress on some of the numbers on the GDP side, but not much progress on this side of the equation. On the week, well, where were 2 years last Friday? Last Friday, a 2-year close at 341, Joe. That was the lowest yield close going back to SEP of 22. Right now, it's hovering at 346. And if we look at the 10-year at 406, it closed last Friday at 405. That was the lowest yield close going back to the end of November of last year. So markets are taking this somewhat in stride. If you look at the pre-opening equities, the Dow futures are basically on the lows of the session, down a little over 110. Back to you.
Thank you, Rick. Steve Leisman.
There we go. There's the PCE report. Let's just hear a bit more, and then I'll give my reaction.
Half of what people were expecting for GDP, that the yields would go lower, but you got the inflation maybe being a little bit hotter, so it can't. They can't really go lower. What did
Please tap the like button and consider subscribing. I'll give my reaction in a moment.
How much is that involved with the? That was during this period, and then we had some trade deficit numbers that caused people like the Atlanta Fed to bring down GDP to what was that? Exports, but 1.4. If it was expected to be 2.8, how did it come in at 1.4?
Joe, this is great. You set me up perfectly for exactly what I was going to want to say. Two things about this number. The inflation numbers are bad. I'll get to that in a second. But the overall GDP number is not as bad as it looks and was not actually as bad as expected, which could explain the market's kind of calm with this. Let me explain. As Joe just said, That trade deficit number came in yesterday, and it was worse than expected. We don't have that number when we estimate the fourth quarter GDP. Of course, all the timing on the data is all messed up. But anyway, that number came in, and on the street, what we call the tracking forecast, the forecast that plug in the numbers as they come into their estimate, they came down. I was thinking a number more like 2, but it came in quite a bit lower than that. I need to investigate why that is. But this precise answer to Joe's question is 1.15, or rather minus 1.15. That's what the federal government shut down, along with, by the way, the general decline in spending that is part of the administration's policy here on the federal side. But federal spending cost the GDP number 1.15 percentage points. So you can add that back, maybe, not all of it. The consumer was okay. The trouble here you're going to get to, Joe, and I think it's pretty clear, is the inflation numbers. You have 2 different sets of numbers, the CPI number and the PCE number. Won't go into all the details here. The PCE number that the Fed follows has less housing in it, so that positive data we got on the housing side on the CPI number, not as important inside. Also, you have more healthcare inside the PCE number. Fed likes the PCE also because it shows substitution and it's a broader index. Anyway, that's what we got. That's their preferred indicator. It is a little bit hotter. And I'll just conclude by saying, Joe, my take is that this gives some strength or support to those on the committee that want to wait a little bit longer and let this inflation pass through the system before cutting the CPI. Well, that gets support to the doves on the committee. Joe?
There we go. So I'll give you my reaction to this and how I'm going to invest on the basis of this. So this was the PCE report today. Very, very important. You can see if we go to the S&P 500, it is down. This is why I'm not buying the S&P at the moment. I haven't been buying the S&P now for months. I'm out of it, and I'm making money in other ways so I can then return to the S&P when we come to value. We're not at value. The markets are overbought. They are overpriced. We can have a massive carry trade pullback, and inflation is sticky. We're not going to get rate cuts the way everybody wants them. As you all know, I've been saying now for over a year that in 2026 we'll only get 1 or 2 rate cuts. If you would like to do what we like to do on the show here, is fact check ourselves and verify ourselves. If you have heard me say repeatedly in 2026 1 or 2 rate cuts, would you please say that now in the chat so we can be judged and verified? Please say yes if you've heard me repeatedly say 1 or 2 rate cuts in 2026, no more. So what have I been doing, and where do I see the markets going? Well, the S&P is down today, and we are beating the market. Again, we don't always beat the market, but we beat it more often than not. We are up slightly. Now, why are we up slightly? Let me show you why I'm up and why I'm beating the market today, and the reason why I'm out of the S&P. Now, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines in cash. I don't believe in that. If you're not in the market, you can miss the best days. You only want a couple of times in your lifetime where you want to be in the market. And if you're out of the market at those moments, then you can miss out big time. So I always want to be in. I'm not scared of the market. I'm happy to remain in, but I want to be well positioned. So let me show you my positions and where I'm at. We've got XRP. I'm in XRP. A lot of false information. We're going to come on to that in a moment about Deutsche Bank. There's not a deal done with Deutsche Bank. They're not buying XRP. Of course they're not, but everybody said they are. XRP is going down. It will go down because there's no rate cuts. There's no liquidity. There's no one buying crypto. So it's going to go down. That's why I've trimmed. Ethereum. I trimmed that as well. I'm also buying that on the way down. That's looking very attractive now. Very, very nice indeed. Remember, the people that are buying crypto are doing it wrong. They're buying with leverage and they're getting rinsed out. And I just buy everything when they get rinsed out. Okay, it's the way it works. Bitcoin now 66. It can go down to 50,000, even lower than that. My target is 50,000. I'm not buying any Bitcoin. It doesn't solve any problems. It doesn't do anything. All right. So then you got the S&P 500 going down today. SGov, of course, it always makes money, but there's no point being in that right now, unless you want to sit on the sidelines and protect your money, where I don't. So SGov doesn't appeal to me. Coca-Cola, I bought on the dip a couple of days ago, and you can see I'm just slightly out of the money by 0.13. me. That's protecting my money. Not against an oil crash. If the markets crash, so will Coca-Cola. Oh, that's nice. A little rebound there. That should put you back in the money again. Yes, it does. Back in the money. There, exactly what I just said live on the show is why I'm in Coca-Cola. It's not going to give me a boom now because we're at price target, but it'll protect my money somewhat. Robinhood, I'm buying that because that's a crypto play on the way down. But our biggest investment with our biggest potential is this, and it's up today. So we're right again here on the show. Google, this is a massive $400+ price target. Some would say $450. Now, I'm out of the money on this. I've been buying it on the way down. I haven't caught the exact bottom. I have bought the bottom with some lots, but the overall average is down. But as it starts going up, you will see my average hit the bottom prices because I bought at the bottom, but I bought on the way down to the bottom. So as we start going up, I can sell some of the higher lots. This is a $400 and potentially $450 price target. And I'm all in, and that's up 0.72. That's doing very well. And remember, it plays 7% of the S&P 500. So it's a good S&P position, even though it is obviously all in one stock. So that's what I'm doing. So there's the PCE report this morning. My portfolio is hit. We're down now to 285, I guess. 282, there we go, 283,000. We were at 312,000 a few weeks ago, but we decided to stay in the market, buy Google. That's going to give us our biggest gains. We've now got 300 grand, including the Roth IRA, in Google. That's going to potentially go to 450 this year. So we're doing very well, despite anything that can happen between then and now and then. So we are down slightly, and we've also been buying heavily into crypto, but we're still over 100 grand. There it is, $100,000 just over. We've been buying on the way down, and we've been trimming on the lots on the way up. If you want to know about lot selling is the key. So you always make money. We've got videos and training on it that you always win. I always win on my lots, never lose selling lots. And more often than not, we beat the market. 9 times out of 10, we beat the market. And I train you and I show you all the information on our Discord and all our trades on Electrum. If you want all that, there is the Discord link, and you've got a great community, 90% discount. You can join for just $2.99. We're here to help everybody, and there is the YouTube membership if you want all my Electrum trades. Okay, that's our big story of the day. We're going to be back in a few moments' time with the big story of the day, which is going to be XRP. So for right now, this precise moment, I'm going to send you all, I'm making this video live, I'm going to send you all to the extra channel, as I'll be back in a few moments with an XRP special. So let me just link it over to Extra. There it is. Drop it in the chat. It'll take you, if you're watching this live right now, thank you very much indeed. It's now going to take you to the Extra channel where we've got Casey doing an interview right now, ladies of crypto. So live now. Stay with me. One more second, please. Put that in the chat. Pin that there. Right. We're all going over now to the Extra channel, where I'll give you the link to come back for an XRP special. That's it from me. Click above my head for all the links down below in the description. And if you go over to just here, you will see 2 videos I think you'll find useful. Join me now on Extra. I'll see you back in a few minutes' time with an XRP special all the way through the bell. It's a massive day today, an opportunity to make money. That's the PCE report. That's my thoughts. That's my reaction. That's what I'm doing. And now find out where we go next with our XRP. Huge position, 100 grand. Above my head, down below in the description. Join me on Discord. All those things will be here. That's it. I'll see you back in a minute on Extra. I'll give you the link to bring you back for an XRP special. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.